Hey guys, and welcome to my very first featured gardening video. In today's video we're going to meet Jason, who created this fantastic garden behind me. He started from scratch and he's big with upcycling and recycling of materials. He's going to run us through it. He's more of a permaculture style of gardening. He's got some chooks, he's got a hothouse as well. Without further ado, let's go and meet Jason.
My name's Jason and we're in the Midlands region of Tasmania today, getting ready to show you my garden and how I grow food. Let's go have a look. So this was my first sort of little food forest area, I suppose I like to call it, because it looks a bit like that at the moment. It's a really good spot because it gets all day sun. It's got a little bit of protection from the wind because of the stone walls, but the problem in this part of Tasmania is that there's a lot of sandstone around. So in the areas where I didn't have the sandstone, I planted things into the ground, but because it was an ideal spot to grow, the only way around that was to build raised garden beds. So initially I killed off the grass in this area. I went to the local tip here, and they have a big shipping container where you can get cardboard for free. So I got a whole heap of cardboard. I put cardboard down throughout this whole area, covering up all the ground, and then I had a ton of wood chips brought in, and that was all spread over the cardboard, and that was left for about a year just to all sort of break down. The basic structure, because we have possums and birds getting in and I wanted to grow berries and things like that, I knew I need some protection. So, and I didn't have a whole lot of money at the time either, so I just went and bought star pickets, which are used for fencing, and I lined them up and put them in where I could, trying to avoid the sandstone. And then I bought a really big roll of thick agricultural pipe, this stuff, and just cut it to length and put it over the top of the star pickets and secured it off. And then that was my basic structure. And then I was able to, I bought some bird netting, which cost me maybe $150. And I was able to sort of string that over the top, secure that off. And that sort of created my basic enclosed structure here. I had a whole lot of roofing sheets and stuff like that left over, so I just sort of came up with a bit of a technique where I'd put a wooden board in and just bash the roofing sheets into the shapes that I needed for raised garden beds, and I needed to increase the soil level in them. So I would go and buy heaps of bags of sheep manure, and I'd fill the raised garden beds up. And then we've got another property sort of at the end of our street that trains horses, and they put out free bags of horse manure. So that became a very handy resource for me. So then that would get layered in, and that was sort of how I built up my soil nutrients. And I left it to sort of break down for about 6 months, and then I started planting in it. I sort of just grow seasonally. At the moment where we've moved out of summer and it's starting to cool, so I've still got a lot of tomatoes, but then once we start getting frosts, these will die off. Likewise the raspberries, I've got a lot of raspberries growing in here as well. I've probably got about 30 tubs of frozen raspberries in the freezer. Every summer that looks like it's dead when winter comes, and that's a red currant little bush there. It looks like it's dead, it just goes dormant. Same with the raspberries, but every summer it just springs back to life, and it's just full of red currants, which I've used to make cordial, which is really nice and really refreshing. Here we've got some little yellow passion fruits. The fruit's really nice. They're the small little passion fruits, and you break them inside and they've got a nice red sweet sort of passion fruit pulp, which is really tasty. And then with whatever scraps or cuttings I have, because it's a bit of a quasi permaculture concept that I use, I just get thrown on the ground, just breaks down. Pink lady apples, slightly tart, but they all got picked, and I ended up stewing those and freezing them. The apricot here, this is doing quite well, but this is only about 1.5 years old. spring onions in here, and the good thing about spring onions is you can just cut it off at a certain point, take the spring onion, and it just keeps growing and replenishing. If I let the chickens in here when I set up new beds, I throw some food scraps in with the manure and I let the chickens in and they all dig it all up for me. You know, that's a bit of a permaculture concept as well, having, you know, animals assist you in what you do. This is all potatoes in here. So yeah, I mean, whenever I want potatoes, I can just dig them out of here. I've got potatoes growing in here year round. Probably one of my last zucchinis for the season. Got my olive trees here, which I'm starting to get some olives on. Really sort of started with nothing and just used what I had and expanded it. But once you walk around the land and work out, you know, where you get your all-day sun and partial sun, and you know which direction the wind blows and all that sort of stuff, you know you work out where's going to be the best place to grow certain things. The tomatoes, when I get a major surplus, I just make passata out of them and, you know, can them and water bath them, and I've already got about 30 bottles put away. About the middle of last year, I decided that I wanted to extend the growing area a bit and do a bit more of an orchard garden in here. I wanted to try and do it as cheaply as possible, so I looked at what I had lying around the property. We had a lot of old hardwood left over from when we demolished the old lean-to on the cottage. So I salvaged what I had there. We have things called tip shops in Tasmania where, you know, sort of good salvageable things that get taken to, you know, the dump or the tip. The gates from the tip shop, I bought that years ago for like $30. A lot of the copper logs and the fence posts, they're all second-hand from the tip shop. And I used a similar concept to what I did over here, except I concreted in the wooden poles, and then I, you know, bugle screwed the agricultural pipe into a hoop shape, and bits of metal that I had lying around, you know, I used to sort of like reinforce the agricultural pipe. And then because I didn't want birds getting in here, you know, it's a mixture of chicken wire and cyclone wire and stuff like that I either got for free or bought at, you know, garage sales. Some of it's brand new. I use some old 44-gallon drums which don't have bottoms on them, so, you know, some of the fruit trees are planted in those, and, you know, as the roots start growing more, they'll end up spreading out underneath that, but they're contained in the barrels. A lot of the fruit trees, I mean, I think I bought this from a market. This is like a dwarf Indian peach, which I just thought sounded interesting, and it's got a dark flesh and it'll grow quite well in this climate. This one here, I think I've only ever seen these in Tasmania, but it's called Magnus Summer Surprise, and it's an apple that's got a red flesh, and so this is about a year old, and this was fairly small. This is called a Himalayan dogwood tree, which produces a fruit that looks like a strawberry, and but it's used in Chinese medicine. It has medicinal benefits. It's, you know, you create like a liver tonic, and it's meant to be good for liver cleansing, and it's got a few other health benefits to it. These were old gym dumbbell sort of racks that I had in the shed, and I just painted them up and screwed them in, and they work really great for hanging shovels and tools and stuff on. So we've put a second chicken coop down here, so if we ever go away, you know, for a couple of days, we can move the chickens down here. We do have eagles in Tasmania, and eagles will come and pick up your chooks and fly off with them at times. I built all this for less than $2,000, and that would include all the plants that are in here as well, and the chicken coop. Right, so this is my little compost area that I created here. It used to be this whole section here. For about a year, I had we'd just put all our vegetable scraps in it and bags of manure that we got for free, and then I had a big black tarp over it over summer, and, you know, kept it wet, and it all broke down. And I used a lot of the compost, you know, to top up the soil with manure in here, and I planted a couple olive trees and a feijoa, and then out of the you know, the garden waste and everything, I've now got spinach plants popping up everywhere. I've got beetroot, and, you know, Swiss chard and a whole lot of other stuff growing in there as well, which was an unintended, sort of consequence of using the compost in there. With a bit of effort, you can, produce your own fruit and vegetables. I've only got just under 2 acres here, and we grow enough fruit and vegetables out of the 2 acres within 3 years, to the point where we don't really have to buy any fruit and vegetables. And then you've got a bit of a barter economy here in Tasmania too. Love your neighbour as thyself, as it says in the Bible. So, you've got a surplus of things, help somebody out and, give them some eggs or some vegetables, and then, they think of you when they've got a surplus of things and they come and give it to you. So it all works out quite well. It's really hard to grow corn in this region of Tasmania, but I got some corn in really early this year, and I managed to get quite a good crop of corn, which is coming to the end of the season now, and the corn's starting to die off a little bit. That's an elderflower tree. These are feijoas, and I've also got things growing in here. So this is, just off the decking of the house, and we've got chamomile growing in that little raised garden bed there. Then we've got a peach tree, olives over there, another elderflower. Wormwood, got a small pomegranate tree there, another fig, over some zucchinis and more tomatoes and stuff like that growing over there. It's really handy being able to walk just out of the kitchen and, grab yourself some spring onions, tomatoes, zucchinis, strawberries, and, just walk straight back into the kitchen again. All right, so this is our chicken coop area. We sort of designed it so that it's easy, we come out of the house and we can just walk straight over, and we can lift up and just get our eggs out of the little roosting boxes there. The chooks have a bit of an area to dig around in here, and so even though they've got this area to have a dig around in, which they do throughout the day, they're free range chickens, so they have the whole 2 acres to just sort of roam around in. We've built this greenhouse, which is on formed concrete walls to raise the height of it up, and the reason we've done that is to raise the height, but also we do have periods of time here in this Midlands region where we get really strong winds. So as we come in, I've got kale growing in here and tomatoes, and I've got oregano that just grows year round in here, and I've got some basil in here. Got capsicums growing in here too, so been getting a few capsicums, more spring onions and celery, Swiss chard. These are cold climate banana palms, which I'm trying to see if I can grow some bananas here, and so they're doing quite well, but I still haven't produced any bananas off them, so we'll see how we go as time goes on. It's difficult to grow citrus here in this part of Tasmania because of the winds and the frosts and the cold that you get throughout the year, but I have got lemon that's doing all right. I got a few lemons off it last year. I got another little eggplant. This is grapefruit, which produced 1 grapefruit this year. I've got chilies growing down here, different types of chili. I've got another eggplant there, which might only get the 1 off that, but anyway, it's fine. Got some jalapenos. Actually got some oranges on an orange tree here. And and then seedling trays. This is where I, sort of sprout my seeds, and so I've got a few things, some garlic and some more spring onion and some cauliflower and stuff like that. So these are Sproutwell greenhouses. They come with these little gutters, and I don't know whether people who buy these greenhouses ever bother really setting them up, because they probably don't think they trap a lot of water, but they actually do. And so I mean, at most of the outlet points, I've just connected up water storage. It's well worthwhile setting up some sort of water catchment off these things, because the gutters are pretty effective at trapping water. So yeah, I have got water set up in there with a hose, and I've got a misting system, but I also just use the rainwater too.
Well, have you learned something today? Tell you what, I learned a few things today, but most importantly, I hope you guys got motivated to grow your own food. There's nothing like growing your own food, guys. In the future, I hope to feature more gardens and speak to different people and hopefully learn from these people. Don't forget to subscribe, like my video, and I'll see you in the next one.